Whether you're 10 years out from retirement or already there, understanding these risks can be the difference between living with peace of mind and loving your life or having to spend your golden years worried about money. So I encourage you, grab a cup of tea or coffee, take a walk, and let's simply look at your money plan so that you can know what you need to do and you can take the right steps. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. Now, if you enjoy our free podcast, please follow us on Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/134. Millionaireseries.com copyrights all materials and intellectual property. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement, planning, or healthcare advice. By accessing this content, you agree to hold millionaireseries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So let's look at 4 of the biggest financial risks now and in retirement, and more importantly, what you can do to avoid them. So the first one, which hopefully you know by now by following me and my podcast, is simply running out of money or outliving your money. The number one fear among retirees, especially women, is running out of money before they run out of their life. Unfortunately, it's a reality for many people. And it's not just about how much money you have. It's more about how you manage it, what you say yes to, and what you say no to. What I want you to really walk away with is understanding that whenever you say yes to anything, you're inherently saying no to something else. And let me just give you an example. If you say, yes, I'm going to go and play pickleball tomorrow morning, you're saying no to spending time with your partner unless that's who you're playing pickleball with. If you say, yes, I'm going to go get this latte, and let's just say it costs $5, you're saying no to what that $5 could be invested in. Now, I'm not concerned about you having a latte here and there, but what I am concerned about is the latte, the trips, the stipends, the eating out, the free money to spend. I mean, you start looking at it and it's, $5 here, $10 here, then it's $300 here. Oh, it's $500 there. You start adding it up and it just becomes out of control. Some of that is really obvious. For other people, it's not so much because it's all about your neural pathways. So some people have developed such strong neural pathways about what is acceptable to do and just kind of like, well, of course, if I want $500 a month to spend, then I get $500 a month to spend. Or if I get $50 a month to spend, it's that and then whatever else you've accustomed yourself to doing. And what I want you to just be aware of is that when you say yes to that, you're saying no to something else. And too often people are saying no to a secure retirement. Everyone wants to enjoy their life now. I get it, and you should. We also have to be aware of what's going to happen in the future and make sure we have a plan for it and that we are putting enough money away for it. So I just want you to be really clear on that because that's something that really impacts people. And it's one of the main reasons why people outlive their money. There are many people, unfortunately, who are not paying attention to what's going on. And to this day, it's still more women than men. But unfortunately, many of them have a rude awakening because they just don't know the numbers and really have no idea how long their money is going to last. I've seen this happen so many times, and I'm very concerned about what's going to happen coming up because things are not getting better on that front. The indications are, at least in the immediate future, it's going to get worse, and especially with all the cuts. So again, you've got to factor that into your plan. So why does this happen? One of the main reasons is financial illiteracy, not knowing what to do or how to do it and not taking the time to really become familiar with it. You don't have to love it. You don't have to do it, but you need to know enough that you can delegate it, but not abdicate it. Another reason is that a person does not have a financial plan or an income strategy. That's really their retirement and their tax planning. Lack of discipline is a common reason. This requires that we slow down and develop our prefrontal cortex, where we can logically think, calmly think, rationally think. It's our adult brain, as compared to so many people are running on that little child toddler brain, right? That emotional brain. Well, I want that, so I should get it. Another reason is that we live longer than we may expect. If you are healthy or you have a family history of longevity, you want to buy as much guaranteed income as possible. Oh, so important. And then underestimating healthcare costs and inflation. Talk about this in a minute, but the number one reason people go bankrupt is cost of medical care and not being able to afford it. So you got to have a plan for that. One of my clients, and I've changed her name, Angie, shared that she was so afraid of being broke. In fact, she was more afraid of being broke than dying. And I have heard this so many times. It's real, my friend, and it's avoidable. There are several studies that show that the majority of Americans feel the same way. In fact, a 2024 Allianz study showed that 64% of people worry more about running out of money than death. 62% say they're not saving as much as they need for retirement, and 54% say that the inflation number is one of the biggest contributors to their fear of running out of money. Everyone wants interest rates to be lowered. Well, you got to look behind the scenes. Why is Powell not lowering them? He's the current chair. It's because he's worried about inflation caused by issues of jobs, caused by lack of hiring. Potentially right now, there's a really weird thing going on where there's not a lot of people leaving jobs, but not a lot of jobs being created. And then on top of that, the issue of tariffs. Tariffs are going to increase inflation. And so we got to see how that plays out. Just because you say, oh, I wish there were lower interest rates so I could say, for instance, get a new home. You don't want lower interest rates and hyperinflation. So we've got to make sure that that's being balanced, and that is definitely going to impact your retirement. One of the things that points to this is the fact that there's literally about 78% of Americans who are not okay financially. Now, there's more like 40 to 56% that are really not okay, and like huge number are relying on Social Security, like anywhere between 40 and 50%. Over 50% of kids in this country are living in poverty. What's really interesting about it is they say only about 22% of people are really okay financially. I mean, it's a problem for so many people. And a lot of people that it's a problem for aren't even aware it's a problem. I don't want you to beat yourself up. I don't want you to freak out. I just want you to be aware enough that you take action and do something about it. Because sometimes when we get so freaked out about it, we don't do anything about it. And that is not the solution. So what can you do? Start saving earlier. Stop telling yourself that you have no money, or you're going to outlive your money, or that you're terrible with money. Or my favorite one is, I don't do money. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? The universe is probably going to let you start doing it. We all have a conscious and a subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind does not know the difference between something that's imagined or real. They've done studies where people will actually practice a piano, others will just visualize it, and there's literally no difference in 2 weeks after that, meaning you can't tell which one has been practicing and which one's been visualizing it. Same thing with muscle growth. They had different studies, one where they were actually lifting the weights on their bicep. The other one was in a cast, and all they did was visualize it. And at the end, the ones that actually visualized it, muscle had grown like 12%. It's crazy. The numbers are unbelievable. They've done that for sports teams. They've done it in so many areas. It's fascinating. Continuing to tell yourself something gets it hardwired into your subconscious mind. And once it's there and the subconscious mind believes it to be true, it's going to act as if it's true. So you got to be really careful what thoughts you're thinking, what words you're speaking, and what actions you're taking. You want everything to be in congruence with what you want. The next thing is to create a comprehensive financial plan. Make sure it includes your retirement, tax, and income strategies for retirement. Use realistic projections. Consider guaranteed income sources. This includes Social Security, which hopefully you're going to get, a pension if you have one, that's great, and then an annuity. And that is kind of where you're creating your own personal pension. And then you want to have a withdrawal strategy that does not overextend your portfolio, meaning that you're not taking too much out, and especially on years where the market does not perform well. Risk number 2 is market volatility. Losing a big chunk of your portfolio at the wrong time, especially right before or just after retirement, can be devastating. The reason is because the sequence of returns risk. When the market goes down and you're withdrawing, your account depletes so much quicker. And it's funny because I always laugh when people are like, oh, I don't like annuities. And then I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. What about annuities don't you like? And their philosophy is that anytime the market's down, you just don't take any money out. I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. Well, what if it's down for multiple years at a time, or it's really flat like it was for several years before it just went crazy? They don't have an answer to that. That is why guaranteed income is so important. And it really needs to be a part of a person's picture, unless they have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. Ironic part is that a lot of those people still have annuities. In fact, one guy, it's interesting, he just sold his company for $100 million and he put $30 million in an annuity. He could have put it anywhere. Why did he put it in an annuity? He wanted those guarantees. My husband and I made a major shift to add more guaranteed income to our retirement. So our retirement, we're literally going to have 2 to 3 times our need. And I will just say, it is so great going to sleep knowing we've got that taken care of. My friend, it is life-changing. And it, not just for us, I've had so many clients say that, I just don't worry about money. And I used to always be worried about money. It's amazing what it can do. So what can you do to avoid market volatility? The first thing is just be diversified. Don't have all your money in real estate or stocks or bonds. Reallocate investment based on risk tolerance and your time horizon, and stay on top of that. When something performs really well, rebalance your portfolio. Consider annuities or hybrid solutions that offer protection with growth. And then work with an advisor who understands risk management and is not just chasing returns. If you need support and you're saying, oh my gosh, I have no idea where I am, or I'm worried about the fact that my portfolio has done so well, it's not been rebalanced, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/support and access support from our community. The third risk, healthcare and long-term care costs. Unexpected medical expenses or needing extended care in retirement can drain your savings so quickly. As I just mentioned, it is the number one cause of bankruptcy. And it's real. Over 70% of people over age 65 are going to need some form of long-term care. What are some of the common mistakes that occur here? Well, the first one is a lot of times people assume that Medicare is going to cover it, and it does not. Or the other issue is the fact that they are relying just on their savings plan as far as their backup. The reality of it is that your savings is only going to last so long. One of the things I think is also interesting is that a lot of people believe that Medicare is going to cover their long-term care. It doesn't. They also think, well, if I run out of money, Medicaid will. Well, I would have been a lot more likely of saying, yeah, it possibly will. But now, I just read this report about, it's one of the Midwestern red states, and because of the cuts of Medicaid to their state, they are right now at a $500 million deficit. They are going to have to cut additional costs. So many people are going to be impacted by that. And so again, you just got to create a plan on what you can do to mitigate it. If you are retired and you're worried about it, maybe you get a part-time job. Maybe you downsize. You just got to look at different ways in which you can save more money, spend less, and do what you can do as soon as possible. Clients who have had long-term care or hybrid insurance policies oftentimes share that they sleep better and they don't worry about it. Now, the one thing I'll caution you on is that typically a hybrid plan is not going to cover as much as a traditional plan. However, what we've seen in the real world is that hybrid plans are easier to get money out of. So you got to really work with a qualified advisor to determine what works with you. One of the major advantages of hybrid plans is that they provide the flexibility many people want and need. So those can be a really good solution. I'll link to the hybrid long-term care blog we did where we really explain that so you can really see what the options are there. So what are some of the solutions that can really help cover this risk of healthcare and long-term care? Either a traditional or a long-term care insurance policy, self-insuring only if you have enough assets, and then planning early. Your health and costs can quickly shift, and when they do, it's much more difficult to get coverage. Another resource is an episode we did on long-term care insurance. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/72 to access that. All right, number 4, the lack of a coordinated plan, and that includes an income, a retirement, and an estate plan. So many times people have a fragmented plan. They have assets here, stuff there. They forget about assets they have. They're not sure who the beneficiaries are. They have outdated estate plans. It just creates a chaotic situation. And it's often overlooked because people think that once they do their estate planning, it's done. They can forget about it. That's the first step. Then you have to fund it. You have to make sure everything's coordinated. And so you got to be really careful with that. A lot of times people think that estate planning is only for people who are really wealthy. Oh my gosh, I think it's probably even more important for people who aren't. One of our new clients shared with us that they had already completed their estate plan. They didn't have anything else to do in that area. And I'm like, okay, great. So I said, well, what I want to do is just, take a look at things and make sure, I know what's going on. Okay, no problem. Oh my gosh, I started looking at things. What they didn't realize is that assets pass via legal docs, title, and beneficiary designation. So they had completed their estate plan, but they had not retitled assets or completed changes for beneficiaries. That is a problem. That's how you unintentionally disinherit somebody, or you give money to somebody you don't want to have money. Nothing in their estate was coordinated. So that could have been really a nightmare because nothing they wanted to happen would have. And they had not appropriately set it up for tax planning long term. That would have been also problematic. So what are some of the things you can do to avoid not having a coordinated plan? One is that you update your estate documents every 3 to 5 years or when things change. You coordinate your trust, your retirement accounts, and your insurance so it's all working together. Make sure your ownership and beneficiary designations mirror your estate plan. That is critical. And then obviously looking at primary beneficiary contingent. Sometimes you're going to have both. Sometimes you'll have one. And then a plan for income. Where is it going to come from? What's it going to be invested in? And when you're going to start taking it? All of those things are important to make sure that everything is coordinated. If you need help with your estate plan, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/EPC. That's our estate planning checklist. That'll give you an idea of some of the things you need to do. I'm going to give you a bonus tip. It's not having a plan, and that includes both an inner and an outer game plan. Even with money, if you don't know your why or you haven't addressed your mindset, it's so easy to make mistakes or even sabotage your success. So make sure you get really clear on why you're doing this. What do you want to happen? How do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy? And then make sure you really work on your mindset so that you can have the mindset you need to do what you need to do and not abdicate it. You want to align your life and your money, and that really requires that you clarify your vision for retirement. What does it look like? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? You want to set value-based goals. And then I encourage you to elevate your worth barometer. That's your self-esteem and beliefs. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/3. But that is so important because a worth barometer is going to dictate how you show up. It's going to dictate what you say yes to and what you say no to. The more you can heal your worth barometer, the more you can really set yourself up to take the action you need to take to achieve the results you want. So let's conclude 4 financial risks in retirement. Number 1 is running out of money. 2, market volatility. 3, healthcare and long-term care costs. And then 4, lack of a coordinated plan. And that includes your estate plan, your income plan, your tax plan, and your retirement plan. These are all real risks. But the best news is you have the power to create and plan and act now so that you can impact what will happen in the future. If you're ready to stop worrying or wondering if your financial house is in order, I encourage you to go to themillionairinsider.com/support. Whether it's shifting to guaranteed income, rebalancing your portfolio, or updating your estate plan, small steps can lead to massive peace of mind. And please remember, you can do this. We're here to help. Until our next time, please take one action that's going to help you create a financially secure life you love. I'm Annette Ba'u, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.